then you'll say, we're not talking about this or this. We're talking about this.
Ship is ours back. Alright, let's just skip that. No one reads that. What was I just saying? Hold on, let me remember. I'm terrible about this. I probably should have just kept talking anyways through the cutscene. Because it was just oars going onto a ship. Crap, what was I talking about?
Shed blood or whatever?
I apologize dearly, viewers. Oh yeah, it's what I think the best game is.
It's Ocarina of Time. It's Ocarina of Time.
Never played Ocarina of Time. Don't really plan to. Maybe Majora's Mask. Because Majora's Mask, I really like the aesthetic. Though, yeah, best game. Symphony of the Night, yeah, it's really good. Really good. It's kind of like an Easter eggy game, and it's got some secrets up its sleeve. And like after the first, like about I guess a third in, I haven't completely finished it, but I'm fairly sure that I'm like at least halfway through. At least. Really good game. Persona 5, also a really good game. Haven't finished it, but I'm not willing to. I'm not sure I would say it's the best game. Either of those two are the best games, because both of them are a little flawed in my eyes. Because Symphony of the Night, Castlevania, although it's a really good game, it's a bit old and has some flaws. For instance, like how when you're trying to use some certain spells, it doesn't use analog sticks, and you have to make separate diagonal inputs, like quickly and consecutively. So some of those are just pretty much impossible to use. Like because the only spell I can actually use in the game, as far to my knowledge, is the one that just makes a homing attack. Because it's just left, right, up, down, attack button. Persona 5, good game. Not the best. It's like this isn't really the best game either. It's not flawed at all, but it's just a little. It's a little simple, which I guess is a flaw. Mario Galaxy, also a really good game. It's not very simple, I would say, but I guess I would say that's just a really, really good game. Best game material, I'm not sure, because you get a lot of competition with like. Oh, but Dark Souls is the best game. Dark Souls, I'm sorry guys, Dark Souls is way too hard for me in particular, but pretty much like 50% of everyone. At least. In fact, I have Dark Souls. Like, I have a copy of it for PS3 that I got for like $10. And I think it was pre-owned, and because whoever owned it previously was a little bit like me. in the sense that they're not good enough at video games to be good at Dark Souls. Because I have like a somewhat terrible reaction time, which is why I'm terrible at almost every fighting game except for Smash Bros. Because Smash Bros. Doesn't always require super precise timing or button input abilities, although it does require a particular set of skills. Though I mostly just like fun games, really, which is, I mean, who doesn't? Who doesn't like fun games? People who hate themselves, probably. I mean, I don't hate myself, I don't think. But I don't think so. I still haven't answered the question, actually. What is the best game? So that's like answering, oh, well, what's the answer to life? You can't really give a good answer because you don't really know what determines the question. You know what I mean? I mean, you probably don't because my explanation was awful. But it's like, well, what determines the perfect game? How do you determine if by what standards are the best game is the best game? Many different types of people can play it. By how a specific demographic enjoys a game. Like, would the silent game, where you play as the deaf person, be the best game because it applies so directly to a specific demographic? I don't know. I mean, it's even then, it's probably not the best game because I saw that Germa streamed that game, and frankly, that game is kind of terrible. But even so, like for whatever it's worth, that could be considered the best game in the history of video games. And I wouldn't know. Why would I know? I don't know. That's hard. That's a really hard question because I'm trying to think of a game that anyone can play and have fun. But at the same time, that's kind of like saying who can literally. That kind of it makes me think about how, because my mom, I've tried to play video games with her. The game she's probably best at is Tetris, and she sucks at Tetris. Objectively. She is incapable of playing Mario Bros. With more than just jump and walk left and right. Adding left to the mix might be a bit much for her sometimes. So I guess by that standard, it's Candy Crush. Yep, Candy Crush is the best game there ever was. No, I'm kidding, of course. I don't even like Candy Crush. You can't really give an answer that anyone would accept. Because there's always going to be an exception to, oh, well, that's not the best game because of this. I'm just going to keep dodging this question all day, aren't I? And then again, this is like the question that if you're going to dodge a question, it may as well be this one. I guess I don't really have an answer at all for this question, now that I'm thinking about it. Oh well.
We tried.
I mean, what can you do? It's the second most ultimate question in the history of questions. Why would I bother trying to answer that? When it's, as far as I'm concerned, unanswerable. Alright, next question.
Do you eat ass?
Do I eat ass? Of course I do. Sorry, I'm still kind of stuck on this question of what is the best video game ever. And I guess if I have to pick one, it might be this game. It's accessible to most people. Because, like, even although my mom probably is kind of terrible at this game, she can play it and then only die. Like, she won't get a game over. It's fun. There's a lot of optional challenge in this game, but if you really want, you can just fly over everything slowly. So it's accessible to almost most video game players. Although the basic copyability gameplay is bland on its own, with the addition of copyabilities like fire, cutter. There's a lot of stuff you can work with. It's for people who love Kirby games. It's definitely nostalgic, but it's also just really good on its own. The music is insanely good in this game, which is also a very important thing. The Symphony of the Night and Persona 5 also have really, really good music. Mario Galaxy kinda does too. This game is, although somewhat easy, the thing about Kirby games is all of them are like really good, or at least okay, at the very least. Like, there's never been a single bad Kirby game, I would say. Unless you count, like, Kirby Golf, but Kirby Golf is a great game. I don't understand why so many people don't like it. And by so many people, I mostly mean my friend who I always want to play that game with, yet he never wants to play it. This video sucks, Mr. Poyo, sir. Mr. Desuka. You can also call me, like, Lardass. I mean, I don't like that one, but I might answer you if it's intended for me. I'm not even fat. I'm not sure why you would call me Lardass, but I mean, probably because you're an asshole if you call me Lardass, but to each their own, I guess. Since I have nothing else to talk about at the moment, I'm going to tell you about my day the other day. It was a very wonderful day. So the majority of the day was pretty boring on this particular day. Anyways, we were out and about in town, and my dad was like, "Hey, we're gonna get dinner. You got any ideas of what we should get?" And I was like, "I guess I'll get Arby's since it's on the way home."
Huzzah! A man of quality!
So I go to Arby's. I don't really go at fast food places and be the one who orders, usually. Usually, if we're going to a fast food place, I'm just sort of sitting in the back, just sort of waiting till we can get food. Though, I was ordering for everyone, really easy to order food for, because all I ever eat is usually just like chicken, and like gross garbage food. I'm one of those freaks who actually likes chicken nuggets from McDonald's. Yeah, so I went and I got I was a little extra hungry, so I got myself like 5, and my sister and my mom just 3 pieces, because they usually don't, when they get chicken at like they usually don't eat nearly as much as like I would when I'm hungry. And my dad specifically asked for 2 roast beef sandwiches. By the way, I say sandwich. I don't want to hear anyone tell me, "Oh, they pronounced it wrong." Yeah, I know I pronounced it wrong, but I call it sandwich. And some drinks for everyone. And by this point, I realize, hey, wait a minute. This car doesn't have hardly any cup holders. Sorry for my long stories. And then all of a sudden, like, oh crap, I only have like 1 cup holder, and I have 3 drinks. So I'm like, alright, I'm trying to set up the cup holders, because I'm driving solo right now. So I try and get the cup holders in like the back seat, sort of. 2 cup holders in the front with me, and then put one of the other drinks in the cup holder behind me. And I'm trying to open up the cup holder in the back behind me, and it's like a flip down cup holder that like collapses up. So I have it all closed up. I'm trying to open it, and and it gets open, and then I'm like, oh well, I feel it, and it's like, oh, that's weird, it's not open quite all the way. So I try and force it open a little more, and then it still doesn't budge, so I try and push it a little harder, and then before I even realized it, like, kind of snapped off. It just sort of, it, like, just breaks off. And I'm like, aw, shit, broke it, and I still need to carry 3 drinks. So I'm like, oh, well, okay, maybe I can carry one of the drinks in my lap and then the 2 others in the cup holder. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, oh, that's not a very good idea either. That's probably just gonna fail. And then I get to the window, and the guy hands me the 2 bags of food, and he's like, oh, wait for the drinks. And he's like, do you want a cup holster with those? That would be great. So he gets me one. And I have all these, because I have 1 large drink. Because my sister is diabetic, by the way. So, and she's not fat, by the way. I'm not sure why that's a stipulation that people make about, oh, well, if you're diabetic, you gotta be fat. I don't get that. So I'm driving home, but you just sort of like turn onto the road from the left, because there's 2 separate like road pieces with double lanes, and where you just sort of turn through. You have to be in the left lane, and you turn. You can go onto the road, and then you turn left onto the road. Oh, there's like a short, like off road part where the house is. But when I was trying to turn onto the road where the house is, I ended up some guy behind me, and whoever this guy was, he was making it extremely difficult for me to try and slow down, because you're in the left lane, right? So I'm trying to slow down. This guy starts riding my bumper without slowing down. He just doesn't slow down, and I'm like, the headlights are really crappy, and sometimes don't work. So at this point, they're not working, but the brights are. So it's just really dim. It's just really crappy, dim lights. So I'm trying to drive with those, and my turn is shortly up ahead, on like a little hill, sort of. And I'm trying to do it, and this guy just keeps riding my bumper. So I'm trying to slow down enough that I can make the turn. And he's not giving me an opportunity to slow down. The part where I turn is like right here, and I'm not to where I can turn into the drive. So then I go and try and turn. I didn't slow down nearly enough. I probably should have just been like holding the like kind of sort of like curb stomping the brake down at this point. Is what I should have been doing. Make the turn. I end up going like into the ditch a little bit. Gladly, this ditch wasn't particularly shallow. And then I like drive back out of the ditch and onto where I'm supposed to be. And thankfully, I was completely fine physically, but I was super pissed, and like everything in the car got shook around a little bit. Probably should have just slowed down, and whether or not the guy behind me was willing to or not, because at least then I wouldn't end up going through the ditch. And then I continued driving on the little off-road for home. And then after like the 5 or 4 minutes, and then I was like, oh wait, I forgot to check the drink holster thing. I had this put on the floor of the passenger seat, and I just now was like, oh crap, that cup holder thing is really poor, like really shoddy. I probably should have checked if the drinks are fine by now. And at this point I realize the big drink is completely poured all over the floor. Like the entire floor of this particular seat is just coated with sugary drink. And because the lid actually came off of the big drink. Surprisingly enough, the smaller drinks were completely fine. But my drink, the big one... Let me just turn that down a little bit so I'm not so yelling. Maybe up a little. So I'm pretty much in the driveway at this point, and I realize, shit, the entire, like, large-sized drink is poured all over the floor, and it's been sitting like that for at least 3 minutes already. So I start cussing at myself again.